Hold on. Crowns. I mostly want to know what cards we got. Vampire. Arcane. I assume that must be a monster card. I'm most interested in Northern Realms cards, at least at the moment, because that's really the only thing that we have enough cards to use. So we just saw a new quest of Swords and Dumplings. Oh. This is about the Master Craftsman that he was talking about. And the Master Craftsman has potentially retired from being a blacksmith and has now opened his own dumpling shop. Might be what happened. Might need to reason him into doing something else with his time.
Ice encased his armor, like winter on a glass pane. His eyes red.
Did we successfully drop below 60 weight? We did. We can now do our swap on the character screen. Remove the strong back. And take... Where is it? Could do the life. Either the life, or we could do Yurden. We don't have enough room for both, so we do need to pick. The Yurden is a little speculative, whereas the life is universally beneficial, at least to a certain extent. So I think we'll stick with that for now, and then if we do end up learning more, and determine that it is in our interest to use Yurdens against this monster that we're about to fight, then in that case, probably does make sense for us to switch.
What?
However, do you also play Gwent? Oh my goodness, we did not. I think we last came here, or we originally came here at night, and these people were not out.
Got anything interesting?
So, first I'm going to buy your Gwent cards, and then I'm going to beat you at Gwent. And keep this for additional information. It seems to be a quest item. I'm going to take that. And then let's see what kind of Gwent cards you got. Northern Realms, I'm interested. Except it's junk. Poor infantry. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive, so I might still get it, but let's see what else he has. And we've been punished before for assuming that every card with exactly the same name is exactly the same, when that's not necessarily the case. I also think that place card next to a card with the same name to double the strength of both cards. Yeah, so in this specific instance, it does get more powerful the more of those cards you have, so something to be said for having multiple, but I still think, yeah, strength, the base strength is 1, so not exactly starting from a good place. We'll take it, but it's not good. Whereas this is a Nilfgaardian card, also with just strength 1, but choose one card from your discard pile and play it instantly. That does sound nifty. More Nilfgaardian cards with 10 strength. This is one of the cards that the noble kept on playing against us, and we just could not stop him because he had multiple 10 strength cards, which we don't have any of those at the moment, I don't think. And same here. I'll take the 10 strength. This one is super cheap. Is just close combat, strength 4 unit. Seems pretty straightforward. Relatively cheap. Mostly just deck fodder. Make sure you have enough cards to actually do a Nilfgaardian set, which hopefully we're starting to get close to that. Battle bags allow you to carry more weight. Oh, that's one other thing, is I think that theoretically we might be able to store some things on Roach. Don't entirely know how that works. That's potentially something we might be able to do. Fort Tour? I don't know what a fort is. I think I'm going to deliberately not purchase that at the moment. And then we did determine that some of the animal hides can still turn into some useful things if we break down into the components. They are also generally one of our more valuable things that we can sell to vendors, and also generally things that we can get fairly reliably. Like wolves in particular, are all over the place. The bears, yes, to a slightly lesser extent. But after spending a fair amount on Gwent cards and whatnot, I feel as if in this instance we did get some of those materials earlier, if some of these clearly aren't worth that much in sale. Rotting flesh definitely has basically no value. Same with the skull. I think we determined they just turn into ashes, which is basically junk. Yeah, in this instance, we spent a fair bit. So I'm deliberately selling a bit more in order to give us some room in our bank account to do other things. And I guess that's really the opposite of what I mean. We're taking up more space in our bank account, if anything. That's beside the point. But then we also crafted, or decrafted, if you will, broke down into components some of the hides a little while ago. And so hopefully that, it's not going to be enough forever, presumably, but it gives us a little bit of a starting place if we are looking to craft something in the near future. And now, we went.
A game of Gwent. How about it?
The nods are the best. And they're just like, yeah. Gets me every time. Okay. So. Don't think we have anything to swap out here for the Northern Realms cards, because the things that we've been getting recently have mostly been other factions. Just taking a quick peek. This is the card we got most recently. What is its special ability? Find any cards with the same name in your deck and play them instantly. Ooh, that is very good. If we had any other cards with that name in our deck, that is. Nilfgaard. We might... Looks like we're closest to being able to play Nilfgaard as our second deck. Can we see how many total cards we have in Nilfgaard? Not on this screen, I don't think. Yeah, so I think we're sticking with Northern Realms for the moment, but hopefully, if we win this, get some additional cards, and or come back here maybe even, and assume that we can purchase some of the same Nilfgaardian cards that he was selling earlier, then that might be a good way to get enough to play an actual Nilfgaard deck. So, we have a little bit of siege going on. We keep on drawing 2 siege engineers, or siege experts, and I'm kind of hating it. Especially when we only have 1 actual siege weapon. So I do very much want to dump them. Decent swap. And the last one, we got a siege expert for a siege expert. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, so we do go first. And we have... trying to gauge from a melee, range, and siege standpoint how spread out we are. Seems like we are pretty spread. We have, what, 14 range? We have 14 melee as well. And 7 in the siege row, and if you use our hero ability, then we have 14 range, or 14 strength in the siege row as well. So, yeah, very well balanced here. So it's mostly just a matter of picking and choosing which cards we want to use first. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm deliberately going to go the siege route, because that does have our strongest card. Well, hold on. No, I take it back. I was going to say, because then if our opponent immediately does something like throw in the weather effect in the siege row, then we say, okay, let me just throw in this dummy here, take back that card, and we'll save it for a future round. But that may be something that is just as useful with any other card in any other row. So let's go... let's go range. I think functionally our range is more or less identical to our... Oh, you're giving us a spy. Which would suggest you are deliberately letting us win. You are a Northern Realms deck as well. That would suggest... Oh, that we maybe ought to deliberately not play good cards right now. You might be about to pass. No. Oh, yes, you are playing spy after spy. That is a lot of spies. So, what I was thinking we might want to do after the first one... Oh, I forgot about Taller. Witcher 1 reference there. Or Witcher 1 character, really. What I was thinking was after the first round, if we were convinced that our opponent was just going to play one spy and pass, then it might be worth using the dummy, taking back the one card that we'd played, and basically invest nothing in that round. Which may still be the case. May still be the best route to take. We would still have... I mean, we'd presumably use the dummy to get back Kira here. She's a 5. And then we'd leave Sabrina, because she's a 4. So we would lose her. I think we do that. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to assume that our opponent has... Can we actually get a spy back? Hold on. That works. We can basically steal your spy? I kind of want to do that. We can do that. I didn't realize we were going to be able to do that. Okay, now you're weakening us. Now, granted, we are not looking at a huge lead at this point. Oh, we actually... Taller is a better spy. I should have... I just took the one that's a higher number, which is actually not good for spies. We should have taken Taller. He's a 1 spy, which means that he's going to the other side, and we're drawing cards, but when he goes to the other side, he has a minimal effect on our opponent, whereas this one actually boosts our opponent a lot. So that was a mistake that may come back to haunt us here. We shall find out. We could clear this effect if we are really concerned about our opponent doing something there. Wait, also, Taller is a siege unit? What? Why? Not sure we ever see him fight at all. So I guess can't confirm or deny as to whether or not that is accurate, but it just seems odd when he, if anything, would seem like he doesn't hold a weapon and therefore would presumably be in the melee row, and it's just using some kind of club or crude weapon of that sort. I don't know. Anyways, let's see. So we are still, however, in this limbo world where we would really like to avoid investing more in this round in case our opponent is about to pass. But at the same time, if we were to pass right now, our opponent could win with 1 card, because 3 is a very low total. I'm deliberately going to play a weak card and wait to see what our opponent does. Opponent is legitimately playing, it would seem, after putting that card down, which makes me tempted to use this, although we might want to wait a little bit ourselves. And so I will actually play our siege unit. So we have the siege expert out there. You are playing cards that look very familiar. So we can remove this, and we're still winning by 1. Problem is, our opponent, after using several rounds of spies, has a pretty large card advantage on us. So we're going to be hard-pressed to win in rounds 2 and 3. Could give them a little bit of a taste of their own medicine and use this guy. Should have taken Taller again, but oh well. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's an obvious right choice here. We're kind of in middle ground here. Gray area. So ideally, we would do just a small investment and test the waters here. We don't have a lot of ways to do a small investment to test the waters. See how aggressively our opponent is going to play. There's a 1 there. That is true. Anything we play in the range row is going to be a 1. We also don't want to throw an insane amount of cards in this round, otherwise we're at risk of having nothing for rounds 2 or 3, and again, the card disadvantage in which we find ourselves is going to be a all the more prominent if we're playing one card to our opponent's, what, 3 or 4? So this is the world in which we find ourselves when our opponent plays multiple spies and is being all cheeky, not being obvious as to whether or not they are going to actually try to win this round, or just pass and take the card advantage and leave it at that. It's doing a little bit of both. Part of me is tempted to do this. I think I will, actually. It will give us a tie from a strength standpoint, which might tempt our opponent into playing more, but it will give us 2 cards, which I would very much like to have. For 1 card, nerf the Citro. Oh dear. Okay, well, if we remove this, then we do suddenly take the lead. Now, granted, I do think his leader ability is putting that very weather effect back on. So he might turn around and throw it right back at us, which would be rather unfortunate. The only other way we could take the lead would be to throw a pretty big card down there, a 5 or a 6. So, it's tough, but we'll do it. Really want you to pass. Stop playing cards. At least it's a 1, but... Okay, so we're sitting on 5, he's sitting on 6, so he does still have card advantage. But if we pass here, he will need to play 1 more card to beat us. If he wants to, in which case we'll be tied for cards, so I think we do that. Do you think we do that? And getting rid of the weather effect in the range row is no longer as appealing as it once was, because it's actually helping us right now, because Sabrina, although you can't see it here on this screen, is usually a 4, whereas Kira is usually a 5, so we would, without this weather effect, have 9 in this row. Whereas Sheila is usually a 5, and this guy is also usually a 5. So they would typically have a 10 with no weather effect in this row. So if we were to remove that, they would actually get an advantage. But I think we pass here, I think. And by pass here, I mean accidentally play a different card because I pressed the wrong button. So cancel it. Whew, okay, thank goodness. Okay, now what do they do? They remove the weather effects, which does help them, but it does mean that they had to play 2 cards to take that round. So now we have a small card advantage, so that was a very questionable play. They should have just played... Well, actually, if they played Sabrina and only Sabrina, would have only given 1. Okay, now they're passing. Now, this is a little tricky because that means that, yes, we do have an automatic win here if we play a single card, but we don't have any small cards. This would be the perfect scenario for having one of those siege engineers remaining. Just throw 1 down. You can win with 1 strength. Unfortunately, we do need to throw down likely Siegfried. So it is overkill, but we don't have any other choice. We will get 1 card draw, because that is the Northern Realms bonus. So you get 1 card when you win. And it's a weather effect, and it's the same weather effect that we have. Oh, that is very unfortunate. Okay. We're not in a good place here. Ends, what he at? Oh, that's a good card. It's going to allow him to play another one from his discard pile, and he plays a spy! Which does give us additional strength, but it does give him 2 additional cards, so it is probably still a net benefit. For a second, it looked like he was throwing there. Well, yeah, we don't have much choice but to play this. We can double it. It is our greatest strength at the moment. It is more or less the only thing we can do at the moment, because we're never going to play one of these. This is the Siege Row nerf. So we're not going to lower our strongest card. Could hold on to Clear Weather in case our opponent uses one of these and we want to get rid of it. Or if He uses his hero ability, which we know he has access to, that will nerf our range row down to 1, and we can get rid of it like this. So let's do this. And this may be our play next round. Next turn. Let's see. Except you didn't do it. Okay. I'm deliberately going to... It's going to appear like I'm throwing, but I'm not going crazy here. Hear me out. We do that. Our opponent is like, why'd you do that? Why did you do that? If you have any other weather effects, our opponent is going to play them. I'm going to play this card again and do the same thing that we just did. The game's going to be like, well, that doesn't do anything. Why'd you do that? Was that our opponent's last card? No, they have 2 more. That is a little bit unfortunate, but now we play this, and it clears up the field for us. The purpose of doing that in this order of operations was that it allowed us to bide a little more time in case our opponent chose to throw anything down in the range row for weather effect or the melee row for weather effect. Granted, now with them having played other cards, that would be to their disadvantage. But so it didn't ultimately end up mattering because they didn't do anything, and we have no choice but to pass because we're out of cards and we are tied at the moment. So presumably they're about to play a 1 damage card and take the lead with it and win because of that. One that we did, well, I was going to say the one that we chose not to buy, although we did ultimately choose to purchase it anyway. It's just like, I never want to see you again. Goes back to us. Get out of my sight. Oh, I was going to say, and let's just storm his house and perhaps... Nah, we'll give him one more shot.
A game of Gwent. How about it?
We'll get back at him this way. The proper way. And yeah, I don't really think there's much anything else we can do to boost our deck at this point. Unless there are other people here in this general area that we could also play at Gwent, who might give us additional cards if we were to beat them. Now, this is a much better hand. That was one thing, is we had a pretty horrendous starting hand. But like that, we have a lot of high damage units here. We have a lot in Siege, which is good because we definitely have the ability to double that with our hero ability, in addition to also having the Commander's Horn, which we could put in any row. Of all the weather effects, Torrential Rain is my least favorite with this deck for that very reason. It's the Siege nerf, so I would rather take something else. We did get a Siege Expert out of that exchange. And on this occasion, I think that's okay, because we have lots of Siege units. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2... Oh, sorry, 3, and then the 2 Siege Experts as well. So they will give +4 in total, because they don't buff themselves, so that effectively means they're 5s. Oh no, actually, they're... Well, yeah. They're effectively 5s, assuming we play all the Siege units in one round. Which... I think we might do that right now. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to clear the weather effects. It'd be nice to have that in our back pocket in case our opponent is able to do something like that. Oh, actually, except we should wait. We should do it in the 2nd or 3rd round, because we want to actually play all of our Siege units together. Then the Dunbanner Medic ought to be a 2nd or 3rd round card, since it will allow us to play something from our discard pile, in which case we ought to use melee and range, potentially. Mostly going to focus on the melee. And we have to use range, then we will. I say we're going to focus on the melee. It does make us more vulnerable to getting a weather effect in the melee row, yes. But the reason for focusing on just melee is that if we want to use the horn, then it is most effective when we have lots of stuff stacked in the same area. So going from a 14 to a 28, for example, is quite significant. And I think we will do that now, because it's not going to be very valuable to us at any point to double the range row, when at best we're just going to be doubling a 5 into a 10. And we already can double the siege row with our hero ability. We have that for future rounds. So I think we do this now. And then we will probably pass. Maybe play Sheila, our ranged 5, after this if we feel like we need that. And that's what we really didn't want to see, though. Because that is the hard counter to what we just did. Dumps everyone, or drops everyone down to 1. The 1 does still get doubled into a 2 using the horn that we played, but that is obviously a lot worse than what we were hoping we would end up getting out of that, which was looking like a pretty sizable victory in round 1. We could play Sheila, and that would get us to a tie, in which case we'd have played 5 cards. Our opponent would have to play 1 more to take the lead. Sure. Roughly even Stevens. As to whether or not it's worthwhile. They played a jump card, which is the thing to do under those circumstances. Play just the smallest increment of damage, increment of strength that you can, and make it so that you are in the lead and forcing your opponent to do something. And on this occasion, that something is going to be for us to pass. We're not looking good here. We have certainly the ability to win 1 round with all of our siege units. Very questionable as to whether or not we can win a 2nd round. Okay, that is a strong siege unit you got there. We can bring back a card. This. Is it? What kind of card? Choose 1 card from your discard pile and play it instantly. No heroes or special cards. Oh, no special cards. Okay. So that means... could basically bring back any of these people. So it would presumably bring back a 5 of some variety. Let's do that now. And hope... well, chances are they may not have another melee nerf, so let's go with a melee unit. Let's hope that this is enough to discourage them. I doubt they'll pass, but... okay. They definitely didn't pass. So I think we need to go all in, and then it's gonna hurt. We're not gonna have much of anything left in round 3, except if we do win this round, then we will get the 1 card draw from being a Northern Realms faction deck, and therefore we might be playing 1 card to our opponent's 0 if they go all the way. So, let's see. I think let's take the middle ground here in terms of how powerful the unit we play. So we will take the lead and force our opponent to do something if they want to win. But we're not playing our best card in case we feel like we need to save that for the next and final round. It's like, here, we do probably still want to double this turn, or this round, I should say. Not necessarily this turn. We could potentially wait until later to see if it's strictly necessary. What I'd like to happen would be we double the siege row for us. That puts us in a strong place. Requires that our opponent play additional cards if they want to have any chance of winning this round, but more likely what they'll do is pass, and then that saves us 3 cards for the last round, so that we still have stuff to play. They pass. Yep. We pass. That's what we'll do now. We will get 1 additional card because we are Northern Realms, so we will have 1 card advantage. We hope that that is a good card. It is potentially meaningless, potentially amazing. Entirely depends on what type of cards they have. If they have melee cards exclusively in this last round, then this is going to look amazing. If they have only siege or range units, then it's going to be completely meaningless. You're starting off, I mean, it is a melee card, yes, but it's a 1 strength melee card, so it doesn't really do anything if we were to nerf it, but We shall see. This is really what matters, is, okay, clearing weather effects. That is no strength with that card. So it's looking good at this point. You would have to miraculously have a 10 strength final card, which I am highly skeptical, or make that 13 strength. Yep, and even if you were to nerf the Siege Row, we would still have you. So we will proceed to BM. It does nothing, because that unit is already just 1 strength, but there we go. That's what you get for taking the victory against us first time round. And let's see what we get. We got the crowns. I have no idea what card that is, but it's a card of some variety. I am somewhat curious. Let's see. It does not appear to be a Northern Realms card. My guess is that it is possibly a Scoia'tael card. Let's see. It is not. It is not a monster. Elf card? It is. It's this guy. He's just a random 2. He's just a random 2. He is pretty horrendous, but he is another Nilfgaard card, which brings us a little bit closer to being able to play a Nilfgaard deck, so there is still something to be said for that. Even if, at least our starting Nilfgaard deck is going to be pretty trash. But anyways, I think that although we are planning to fight this Wraith, or whatever type of monster it is, I think we were assuming that it is a Wraith, it may actually make sense for us to do that in the future, because I'm keeping one eye on the clock at the moment, and it is nearing 1 a.m. So it is probably a good idea, if we are about to run into a, I assume will be, somewhat difficult fight, for us to be, you know, not half asleep when we're doing that. So, and that we give ourselves enough time that if it does take us a little while, somewhat like what it took us to do the werewolf fight a little while ago, then we feel like we still have the opportunity to maybe go back to town, make some upgrades, craft some gear, repair some gear, whatever it might be, and put ourselves in a better position to succeed there. Because if it turns out we do need to upgrade ourselves to get it done, which might be the case, because it's a level, I think, 10 monster, theoretically, then that might make things a little less straightforward. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. But thank you all for watching, and I am going to proceed to save and punch the mouse.